cookies.
He did. So I'm Nate. That's Brian. This is AdOddShow, AdOddShow.com.
Hello. Thanks for listening.
Facebook.com/AdOddShow. Check out Second Amendment March website. Join us in Lansing April 13th at 10 a.m.
Check out AdWads.
SecondAmendmentMarch.com.
AdOdds.
I already said that one.
Did you?
Yep.
I don't listen to you.
I know.
My mic is falling, and I can't get up. All right, so here's the trivia question. What?
Nothing. I thought during the break you said that you wanted to talk later. You said you had an idea or something ridiculous. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to our ads, and it was InventHelp, and I'm going to contact them because I got an idea. Now, I don't know about you, but I get tired of, like, plain bread.
Yeah.
You know, you cut it and stuff.
Yep.
I accidentally took some bread and I had it by the open flame on my range. I have a gas range.
Okay.
And it kind of made it brown and crispy. And I put that with bacon, lettuce, and tomato.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And I wish there was a way. So I said, what if I could make some kind of electrical device, like a little box, where you could put slices of of bread in there and toast it like I did on the grill. And so I think I'm going to write to them and ask if I can do that.
It's going to be a box.
It's going to be a box.
With slots in it.
With slots. Well, or on the side. I don't know yet.
And you put bread in there.
Yeah, and it browns it up.
Warm.
It makes it crispy. And it's kind of a golden brown, and it's kind of crispy, almost like a crouton. And I don't know how they make croutons, but I love croutons. And I thought, well, let's do that with bread and use them for sandwiches. I think it would be good on any kind of sandwich.
Yeah.
And it's easier than holding it with a fork over my gas grill thingy.
Yeah, you should call them. You should call them InventHelp. That'd be.
Think they would go with it?
Ooh, yeah, they'd go with something.
I think I could make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Everybody likes toast. All right. Which president was the only president that was divorced? Easy one. Your hero.
Yeah.
We had a listener.
Got it right.
Texted us and got it right. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It was Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
He was divorced, the only one. Now, I'm sure there were some presidents that were over 40 and not married.
Yeah, I'm sure there were.
And I think there were a few that were married and still would have fit into the category of over 40 and single. But Ronald Reagan, the only one divorced.
Like Obama.
He's a tweak. No question about it.
All right, let's move on.
I could do the history thing. Come on. I want to do the history because my grandpa's in history. All right. This day in 1937, General Motors signs the first auto workers contract. And why it applies to my grandfather, it took place at Fisher Body Plant No. 2 in Flint, Michigan, which is where my grandfather worked.
Lots of lead water.
For 50 years.
He worked there for 50 years?
My grandfather started work at General Motors, which was Fisher Body before then, at the age of 16. And worked until he was... No, 52 years, because he worked till he was 68.
Wow.
That's right. His father worked with John L. Lewis as a union organizer in 1910 and 1905 and organized mines in Pennsylvania. My grandfather was born in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Did he see a shadow?
He did. Every time the sun was out, he saw a shadow.
Wow.
But he worked there for 52 years. I can't imagine being alive 52 years. But anyways, in 1936, they had a big strike there. Now, the UAW was only founded a couple of years before that, in 1935. And they demanded improved working conditions, job security for General Motors auto workers. At the time of the strike, GM was founded in 1908 by William Durant. You know William Durant?
Yeah, really well.
He had been the world's largest automaker since the 1930s, right? The strike began December 30th, 1936, turned violent on January 11th, when a riot broke out. Now, this is what I don't like about the police at the time, because police departments were basically functioned for private business owners to knock down strikes, and it was the same in 1937. When the riot broke out, police tried to prevent the strikers from receiving food deliveries from supporters on the outside. Now, was that their business? I don't know. Officials had already shut off the heat in the factory. Both strikers and police officers were injured, which was later nicknamed the Battle of the Bulls Run. I don't know why. I should have researched that, I suppose. Frank Murray even called out the National Guard to surround the plant. However, the governor ultimately decided against ordering troops into the plant. Many Americans voiced their support for the strike, and President Franklin Roosevelt even stepped in, right? With
not personally.
Negotiations to end the conflict. I think he personally was involved, at least on the telephone. Soon after that strike was successful, Chrysler Motor fell into a strike and got UAW, and Ford Motor Company was the last one and didn't have a UAW contract until 1941.
Wow.
Good old Henry Ford.
All right, so
that's it.
Is that it? Okay. Speaking of all of that,
okay,
the GM employee, but not really, that got fired. Right?
He was a valet supervisor for the building headquarters entrance area, so he was a contract employee,
right,
by General
Motors.
He worked
at General Motors,
right? But he wasn't a General Motors employee per se, you know.
Sure,
so
right.
It was kind of iffy.
But I mean, they could fire him essentially.
They could cut the contract. Yeah, sure. Yeah, apparently what he did is he shows up to work and he's walking up to the door and he hears some woman kind of, help me, I'm dying. And he went over to investigate, and it was some woman on the ground bleeding and standed over by another woman with a knife that had stabbed her repeatedly. Apparently, the woman that was stabbed was an employee. The other woman was a friend, I use air quotes, that came in to see her. An argument broke out inside. Went to the outside where she was stabbed. He pulled his gun. He was a CPL holder, a lawful CPL holder. Pulled his gun, held her at gunpoint, stopped the attack. Police finally came up. Security came out, subdued the woman, blah, blah, blah. May have saved the woman's life. Now, she's in critical condition but alive, but he certainly broke up the attack.
Could have been worse, yeah.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yep.
Now, the rumor was right away that General Motors, one of the supervisors on the floor there, came out and fired the guy. So don't come back to work. You can't have guns here.
Yeah.
And it's true, General Motors has a no-guns policy in Detroit at their headquarters.
Yeah, which is bad enough.
Then we're hearing, well, maybe he didn't get fired. He claims he wasn't fired.
Right.
The mayor of Warren, which is where this, I don't know, that's not in Warren, that's in Detroit. Some mayor of a nearby city came out and said, he wasn't fired, and congratulations, he did a wonderful job. I mean, there's a case where a concealed carrier stopped a threat without even firing a gun, just by displaying his gun, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. We don't want to have to use our guns. We want to stop the threat.
Yeah, that's why open carry is such a nice thing.
Generally, that is very, very true. Yeah. I think there's some.
Although I saw it was like, I don't know what it was. It was like a local news station or something that decided to do a study. Right, and so what they did is they had your average office attacker, terrorist, right?
Oh, you're talking about the demonstration.
And by your average attacker, I mean he had like 40 years.
He was a SWAT officer,
as a tactical officer.
Yeah.
And then they gave regular concealed pistol license holders, put them in different office scenarios, like in a meeting or at their desk. In a cubicle. And they all did really well.
Yeah, I think so.
Really well.
Yeah.
The one time they didn't do well...
Conference room, I think.
In a conference room, 3 of them did well. The one guy, he chose to open carry his handgun.
Right.
And he died right away because he was open carrying, Brian. And the SWAT officer with 30 years experience
noticed that gun. And he took him out right away.
And that's what he would do if he was a bad guy.
Right.
And that's what all bad guys would do. Well, there's only a couple problems with this. Is first of all, your average bad guy, not a 30-year veteran SWAT officer, right, that is trained for things like this. The second problem, which is actually more damning to their stupid argument, is that he didn't come in and see an openly carried gun. What happened is, as soon as the door opened, the guy drew his handgun and pointed it at the bad guy.
And started firing.
That is not open carry.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So
It was ridiculous, and it was clear in their video that that's what happened. He drew immediately.
And we have Bob Owens, who is a examiner writer, who is a gun examiner, I don't know what city, but he is adamantly anti-open carry. So he wrote up on that. That was great. Open carriers get killed all the time, and He wrote a story about somebody who got robbed from his gun all the time. Well, there was a Walmart incident just recently. I think it was Walmart, where a guy was normally concealed carry, but he left his jacket in his car when he's looking for some baseball equipment for his kid. So they're in the aisle, and they're going through the sports sections, baseball, bats, and gloves. And he said this strange, weird, disgruntled, disheveled person came down the aisle, grabbed a baseball bat, and tried to hit him in the head with it. And instead of backing away, he stepped into it, blocked it kind of with his arm, drew his gun, and told the guy to get down on the ground and, again, stop the threat, right?
Right.
So Bob Owens jumps on that and goes, well, he was attacked because he was open carrying. Have no data to support that.
Right.
None at all, other than the guy says, I'm going to conceal carry from now on because the only reason that guy swung at me must have been because I open carried.
Had to be.
Not that he was mentally disabled or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was because he was open carrying.
Had to be.
I don't know if that's true. I don't think you can make that statement.
No, you can't. You can't.
I will say it, another good guy with a gun stopped an attack for whatever reason the attack took place without firing a shot.
The other piece that is important, though, that I forgot about, actually, was all of the other actors in the room that were just coworkers.
Oh, you're getting back to the scenario now. Yeah.
Were wearing goggles, so they didn't get
that's
hit.
the other thing, yeah.
But the good guy with the gun was
a
wearing
helmet.
an entire, like a paintball mask.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Yeah,
like,
so
just
really
talk about stick out like a sore thumb,
yeah,
right?
Who's got the gun here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
all of them
the
did that.
SWAT officer's in on the scenario, so
Right.
he knows.
There's somebody there with a gun.
right,
For
which
one
is why
thing,
it's really hard to simulate these things.
you can't do it. Well, you could do it, but not if you have an agenda, which is what.
Well, it
the
would be
news thing-
difficult to do it. I think you would have to.
No, you could set up, I think, a scenario where you had people there with paintball or airsoft guns for whatever other type of reason, and have somebody come in unexpectedly, somebody off the street.
Yeah, but then I might
That had no experience.
I might just pull my real firearm. Though,
Those wouldn't be allowed. Those wouldn't be allowed in there.
Well, then I wouldn't go.
Screw you guys! I'm going home. Yeah. So, yeah, okay, fine. Let's.
Mr. We don't have enough stuff to talk about. We're running out of time. So
we're running out of time. Let's do Rubio real quick.
Oh yeah, let's do him.
Two things. One is that Hillary Clinton gets a bunch of delegates, or is expected to get a bunch of delegates, even though she lost horribly. How's socialism working for you?
Bernie.
And Bernie's going to get screwed there.
Feel the burn.
Rand Paul, unfortunately, drops out, and Christie leaves the race. Rubio, I think, is still in there,
Carly
but
Fiorina.
she dropped out.
She dropped out.
Rubio was apologizing eventually because of his rhetoric that sounded very scripted, programmed, and robot-like, where he repeated at least 3 times the same 25-second statement about Obama. So we're going to play that and see what we can come up with.
But I would add this. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become, once again, the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
All true, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So then they may have asked him a question like this. So, Mr. Rubio, or Senator Rubio, how will you increase the economy in the United States? And he said...
But I would add this. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become, once again, the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
All right. And someone might have asked him something like, Mr. Rubio, this is just a fun question, but what's your favorite meal?
But I would add this. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become once again the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
Now, all true.
Yeah.
But it didn't really address the questions.
No,
and